Good morning and namaskar. You're watching News on the Hour on DD India. I'm Samriti Goyal. Let's first take a look at the headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Gorakhpur and dedicate to the nation development projects worth over rupees 9,600 crores, including AIIMS Gorakhpur, built at a cost of over rupees 1,000 crore, and Gorakhpur fertilizer plant revived and built at a cost of rupees 8,600 crore. Lok Sabha will today take up High Court and Supreme Court judges' salaries and conditions of service amendment bill for consideration and passage. ART regulation bill and surrogacy regulation bill to be taken up by Rajya Sabha. India's cumulative vaccination coverage crosses the 128.76 crore mark. More than 85% eligible population in the country inoculated with the first dose of the vaccine. Meanwhile, 2 more cases of Omicron variant detected in Mumbai, taking the total number of cases in Maharashtra to 10. World Health Organization's expert group on immunization will meet today to discuss evidence for booster doses of the COVID-19 vaccines. Italy's new COVID restrictions banning fully unvaccinated people from public spaces comes into effect. New York City announces plan to issue vaccine mandate for private sector employers and young children aged 5 to 11. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken speaks to Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky ahead of U.S. President Joe Biden's virtual meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin, during which he is expected to warn Russia of severe economic consequences should Russia go ahead with military attack on Ukraine. And first up, Prime Minister will dedicate development projects worth over rupees 9,600 crore in UP's Gorakhpur today. Now, he will inaugurate a fertilizer plant, a fully functional complex of AIIMS Gorakhpur, and a new building of the ICMR Regional Medical Research Centre on Tuesday. More in our next report. With a vision to pave the new path of development in the eastern region of Uttar Pradesh, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Gorakhpur and dedicate to the nation development projects worth over rupees 9,600 crore. In a boon for farmers, Prime Minister will dedicate the Gorakhpur fertilizer plant, which will help in achieving self-sufficiency in production of urea. Over the years, this fertilizer factory was reduced to a poll agenda by politicians. After a span of 3 decades, the plant will revitalize the economic growth of the region.
इस पूरे पूर्वांचल इलाके की एक नई आर्थिक इकोनॉमिक प्रोग्रेस, उनकी ग्रोथ का एक नया द्वार खुला है.
Lying shut for more than 30 years, the fertilizer factory has been revived and built at a cost of around rupees 8,600 crore. Spread over an area of 600 acres, has been a dream project for Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. Gorakhpur plant project has the world's tallest drilling tower of 149.2 meters and is capable of producing 31 megawatt of electricity, more than its requirement. Once operational, the fertilizer plant will not only boost supply of neem-coated urea at affordable rates, but will also generate job opportunities.
यह खाद कारखाना केवल यहाँ पर किसानों को समय पर उर्वरक और रसायन उपलब्ध कराने में, बल्कि ढेर सारी रोजगार की संभावनाओं को आगे बढ़ाने में इसकी एक बहुत बड़ी भूमिका होगी.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also dedicate to the nation the fully functional complex of AIIMS Gorakhpur. The state-of-the-art hospital has been constructed with a cost of around 1,000 crore rupees. It will be a boon for patients from Purvanchal, Bihar and Nepal.
एम्स बनने से हुआ है कि गरीब लोगों का भी कम से कम दाम में इलाज हो जा रहा है और अच्छी इलाज हो रहा है.
दूर जाना पड़ता था और प्राइवेट में जाना पड़ता था तो फीस बहुत ज़्यादा लगती थी. यहाँ पे कम फीस है और मतलब अच्छी सुविधा है.
गिना चुना भारत में बहुत कम एम्स है, जो कि एक गोरखपुर में बन गया. तो धन्यवाद देता हूँ उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार को कि गोरखपुर के लिए उन्होंने उत्तर प्रदेश के लिए गोरखपुर के लिए खास इतना सोचा और एम्स बनाया.
A new building of the ICMR Regional Medical Research Centre will also be inaugurated. The centre has been instrumental in tackling the challenge of Japanese encephalitis, acute encephalitis syndrome in the region.
अब इस इंस्टीट्यूट के बन जाने से क्या होगा, जैसे टीबी है, मलेरिया है, HIV है, एड्स है, बहुत सारी जो बीमारियां हैं जिसके ऊपर हम लोग नए नए रिसर्च कर पाएंगे, उनके ऊपर नई ड्रग्स आ रही हैं, उनके ऊपर रिसर्च हो पाएगी। और जो लोगों के सैंपल कभी बाहर भेजने पड़ते हैं, जैसे NIV पुणे भेजने पड़ रहे हैं, दिल्ली भेजने पड़ रहे हैं, वो नहीं भेजने पड़ेंगे और यहाँ ही जो है उनकी जाँच भी हो पाएगी।
All in all, the inaugurations will boost the growth of the region, enhance capacity building and provide support to other development projects of the region. With A.D. Singh, Bureau Report, DD India. And we now have our correspondent Arun Sharma joining us live with more updates ahead of the Prime Minister's visit to Gorakhpur for the inauguration of these developmental projects in UP. Arun, good morning. What do you have for us? What does the Prime Minister's schedule look like today?
Well, it's an important development, as far as Gorakhpur is concerned, specifically Uttar Pradesh. And, we know this fact that with these projects, Uttar Pradesh's infrastructure as far as healthcare facility is going to get a major push. Yes, so Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be inaugurating this AIIMS, primarily the AIIMS Gorakhpur. Now, we have seen that in the last 7 years, how the focus of the government has been on boosting the healthcare infrastructure. We have close to 2 dozens of, AIIMS in our country. Earlier, the AIIMS Institute was only limited to big cities, specifically in Delhi. But now we have seen that AIIMS is expanding to Tier 2 and Tier 3 towns, specifically in the northeastern states as well, and of course also in cities like Gorakhpur. Now, these are Tier 2, Tier 3 towns and Tier 2, Tier 3 cities. So the healthcare infrastructure will get a major push. That's number one. Number 2 important aspect is that government in the last 7 years has focused on the fact that how can primary healthcare facilities of the center, they can be given a major push. So in that direction, primarily we have seen how 1.5 lakh primary healthcare centers in our country are being upgraded healthcare infrastructure wise. Now, we also know this fact that in this COVID pandemic time, these AIIMS-like institutions or AIIMS primarily play an important role in providing better healthcare facilities to the people of our country. So yes, in that context, today's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's event is going to be very much significant as far as boosting India's healthcare infrastructure is concerned. Samriddhi?
Right, Arun, also the Prime Minister will be inaugurating the fertilizer plant, which we hear has been shut for over 3 decades now. What do you have more on that?
See, this will play an important role in making India Atmanirbhar or self-reliant as far as fertilizers are concerned. Now, yes, you rightly mentioned that the Gorakhpur plant, it started way back in 1969, but because of the financial instability and no viability as far as operating this plant, this was again, closed after 21 years. In 1990s, primarily the Gorakhpur plant was shut. Now, it was a long pending demand of people of Uttar Pradesh that these fertilizer plants should be opened because it will create more jobs. And of course, it will make India self-reliant in this sector of fertilizers. Now, interestingly, there are many fertilizer plants in our country that government is committed to open up or to restart it once again. This includes Gorakhpur, that includes Sindri, that includes Barauni, that also includes the fertilizer plant in Odisha and Telangana as well. So government is committed to open up or restart these fertilizer plants. Now, in last 7 years, we have seen that how government has focused upon the fact that how can fertilizer monitoring mechanisms can be created so that a better monitoring can be done of the fertilizers, number one. Number 2, we have seen that the gas pooling mechanism is in place now, so that there is no shortage of gas as far as for manufacturing of urea in these fertilizer plants. So there is a proper gas pooling amongst these all fertilizer plants primarily. And last but not the least, the urea is not black marketed now because the focus of the government is on to do a neem coating of the urea. And this is the concept that was introduced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi when he came into the power, that there should be a neem coating of urea, because a neem coated urea primarily is not at all useful in the industries. So it can't be black marketed, it can't be sold ahead, or it can't be black marketed. So the neem coated urea is solely used for the farm purposes or by the farmers primarily. So in that context, we have seen a better ecosystem has been created by the government, in order to give a major push to the fertilizers industry in our country. As of now, the country's demand of fertilizer, if you look at it this way, is close to 350 lakh tons. And India is producing close to 250 lakh tons of fertilizers. So interestingly, as of now, we are also importing some of our requirement of fertilizers as of now. But yes, these plants, once operational once again, will of course make India self-reliant in the field of fertilizers, in the field of urea, and of course create more jobs, making India self-reliant or Atmanirbhar. So in that context, today's event of Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be very much significant as far as giving a major push to infrastructure in the largest state of our country, that's Uttar Pradesh.
Right, Arun, and the Prime Minister will in fact also be inaugurating the upgraded ICMR Gorakhpur Centre, which will in fact bolster in-depth medical research in Uttar Pradesh. Tell us more on that.
Yes, so Uttar Pradesh in many ways is becoming hub for many things, be it the film city, be it the expressways, be it the educational institutions, or be it the healthcare infrastructure. Yes, ICMR or the research center primarily will play an important role in providing or boosting the healthcare facility in the state like Uttar Pradesh. Also, we should know this fact that in last 7 years, if you look at it this way, the government has focused upon the fact that how can better healthcare facility can reach to tier 2 and tier 3 towns. Earlier these research centers, the healthcare facilities, healthcare infrastructure were only limited to big cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru. But now we are seeing the expansion of these healthcare facilities, the research center primarily in tier 2, tier 3 town, the northeastern states, the hilly region of our country, so that people do not have to go to the big cities for their treatment purposes. Now a better healthcare infrastructure is being, provided to the people of our country in the tier 2, tier 3 town as well. Second important aspect is that Ayushman Bharat Yojana. We have seen that how in last many years, Ayushman Bharat has been a boon to the people of our country, because close to 50 crore people are being benefited or will get benefit primarily because of the Ayushman Bharat Yojana. This provides an insurance cover or a free healthcare treatment primarily up to 5 lakh rupees. So 50 crore people are directly going to benefit from this Ayushman Bharat Yojana. And Uttar Pradesh, one of the largest state of our country, directly gets benefit from the Ayushman Bharat Yojana, because the maximum number of beneficiaries are there in the state of Uttar Pradesh. So yes, indeed, these kind of healthcare facilities in terms of primary healthcare center, institutes like ICMR, aims for that matter reaching tier 2, tier 3 towns, shows the government's commitment that yes, the government is now creating infrastructure for people who are living in far-flung areas, and of course for the people who are living in tier 2, tier 3 towns, so that the quality of life, ease of life can be provided to these people. And in that context, yes, it's a significant day for the people of Uttar Pradesh specifically.
Well, that's right, a significant day, as you said, for the people of Gorakhpur and UP. Thank you, Arun, for joining us with all those details, and we'll now continue with news. And in further news, news from the Parliament, the winter session of the Parliament, in Lok Sabha, Union Law Minister Kiran Rijiju will move the High Court and the Supreme Court judges' salaries and conditions of service amendment Bill 2021 for consideration and passing. Now, in Rajya Sabha, Mansukh Mandavia will move the Assisted Reproductive Technology Regulation Bill 2021 for consideration and passing. And this bill provides for the regulation and supervision of the assisted reproductive technology clinics and the assisted reproductive technology banks, etc. The Union Health Minister will also be introducing the Surrogacy Regulation Bill 2020, and this is also going to be for consideration and passing. And this bill, in fact, aims to constitute the National Surrogacy Board, the state surrogacy boards, and appointment of appropriate authorities for regulation of the practice and the process of surrogacy. Now, BJP parliamentary meeting, party meeting is being held in the Ambedkar International Centre in Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was honoured at this meeting for announcing the celebration of November 15th, the birthday of Birsa Munda, as Janjatiya Gaurav Divas. And Union Ministers Prahlad Joshi, Jitendra Singh, Arjun Ram Meghwal and others, which are BJP leaders, are attending the meeting. It is for the first time in the history of the Bharatiya Janata Party that the meeting is being held outside the Parliament House. And this is due to the ongoing repair work in the Parliamentary Library building, which is the usual venue for this meeting. And we have Vikas Sarthi, our correspondent, joining us with further details about this meeting. Vikas, good morning.
Good morning. The meeting is still underway, and as you were telling earlier, that Prime Minister is also present in this meeting. He was also honoured by a member of Parliament from tribal community, especially to announce the birthday of Birsa Munda on particular day. So he was also honoured by the tribal MPs. As right now, this meeting is still underway. Usually this meeting happens inside the Parliament premises, but due to some ongoing repairing work, this meeting now is being held at Ambedkar International Centre. It is expected that meeting will be conclude very soon, since the Parliament proceeding starts at 11 a.m. and a significant number of BJP MPs from both the houses are present in this meeting. And when the Parliament is in session, on each Tuesday, BJP parliamentary meet happens, and what we see that Prime Minister interacts with MPs and guides them that what party expects from these MPs and what are the aspirations of their voters, the local people. So they must raise the issue of their voters at the floor of the Parliament, and Prime Minister guides them. Right now, several senior ministers are also present in this meeting, and it is very likely to conclude at any point, at any moment now.
Right, and the Prime Minister has been honoured for announcing the celebration of the Janjatiya Gaurav Divas. Tell us more about that, and what else is on the agenda? You think what else could be taken on the meeting?
Well, this meeting it's a closed door meeting, so once the meeting is over, we will be able to know that what issues were discussed today in this parliamentary meet. But as I was telling you earlier, usually Prime Minister urges MPs to remain present in the House to raise the issues related to the common man. So what is the outcome of this particular meeting? What issues were discussed? What we have been witnessing continuous ruckus in the upper house, especially in Rajya Sabha. So this issue may also come up during this meeting, but since it's a closed door meeting, we cannot speculate what exactly has happened, and we expect a formal statement from senior ministers just after the meeting is over. So we have to wait for some time.
Right, thank you, Vikas. And like you said, once we get that statement, the formal statement, we'll get to know what was on the agenda. Thank you once again for joining us for those updates. And with that, we'll now move on to our next story, an update on the nationwide COVID-19 vaccination drive. And with the administration of over 79.39 lakh vaccine doses in the last 24 hours. Now, India's COVID-19 vaccination coverage has now exceeded over 128.76 crore landmark. Now, 128 crore 76 lakh 10,590 vaccine doses have been registered so far across the country. And the update on COVID-19 vaccination drive. The recovery of 10,004 patients in the last 24 hours has increased the cumulative tally of recovered patients to 3 crore 40 lakh 79,612. Consequently, India's recovery rate stands now at 98.36%. 6,822 new cases have been registered in the last 24 hours, which is lowest in 558 days. And India's active caseload presently stands at 95,014, which is the lowest in 554 days. Active cases constitute 0.27% of the country's total positive cases, which is lowest since March 2020. The testing capacity across the country continues to be expanded. The last 24 hours saw a total of 10,79,384 tests being conducted. India has so far conducted over 64.94 crore cumulative tests, and while testing capacity has been enhanced across the country, weekly positivity rate is at 0.78%, and this remains less than 1% for the last 23 days now. The daily positivity rate has been reported to be 0.63%, and the daily positivity rate has remained below 2% for the last 64 days. Maharashtra on Monday detected 2 more cases of Omicron, a variant of coronavirus, taking the total number of such cases in the state to 10 now. Now, a 37-year-old man who had returned from Johannesburg in South Africa and his 36-year-old US returnee friend tested positive for the Omicron variant. Both the patients have no symptoms and are admitted at the Seven Hills Hospital in Mumbai. 5 high-risk and 315 low-risk contacts of both these patients have been traced, and further tracing is currently underway. Now, all of these patients are being treated at the Jijamata Hospital in Pimpri Chinchwad and are said to be in a stable condition. Meanwhile, amid growing panic over the Omicron variant of COVID-19, Gautam Menon, the professor at Ashoka University, has said that Omicron would not pose serious impact in India due to hybrid immunity in our population. According to the experts, hybrid immunity is developed automatically in people who contract a COVID-19 infection even before vaccination, and hybrid immunity in fact is considered better than immunity which is developed by the vaccination.
हाइब्रिड इम्यूनिटी ऐसी चीज़ है कि एक बार अगर आपको इन्फेक्शन हो गया है पहले, तो उसके बाद अगर आप वैक्सीनेशन लेंगे तो और भी प्रोटेक्शन बढ़ जाएगा उसके साथ. तो इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट फॉर दिस रीज़न कि वैक्सीन है उसकी एफिकेसी मतलब ज़्यादा हो जाता है अगर आपको पहले इन्फेक्शन हुआ है. वी नो दैट इन इंडिया मेनी पीपल हैव बीन इन्फेक्टेड ऑलरेडी. जो डेल्टा वेव जो इस साल के शुरू में जो मार्च अप्रैल में हुआ था, इसी कारण हम एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं कि वैक्सीन के जो महत्वपूर्णता है, वो इम्पोर्टेंस है, वो ज़्यादा हो जाएगा इससे. फर्स्ट और सेकंड डोज दोनों लेनी चाहिए. जिन्होंने सेकंड डोज नहीं लिया उनको लेने चाहिए प्रायोरिटी पे, और जितना भी हो सकता है सबको पॉपुलेशन की जो पूरा कवरेज है वो करनी चाहिए फर्स्ट डोज से.
Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla will leave for a 2-day visit to Bangladesh. Foreign Secretary will call on Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina tomorrow and Foreign Minister Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen, and will in fact meet with Foreign Secretary Masood bin Momen. Foreign Secretary's visit to Bangladesh a day after the Maitri Divas celebrations will provide an opportunity to review the wide-ranging cooperation between the two countries. The first Maitri Divas to mark the recognition of Bangladesh as an independent and sovereign nation by India and Bhutan in 1971 was celebrated in Bangladesh yesterday. The visit will also help prepare for the state visit of President Ramnath Kovind to Bangladesh from December 15th until December 17th. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has called for recommitting the two countries towards further strengthening the long-standing dynamic partnership between Bangladesh and India. Delivering her video address at the event organized by the Indian Council of World Affairs in Delhi on the occasion of Maitri Divas yesterday, Prime Minister Hasina said that the golden jubilee of establishment of diplomatic relations between the two countries is a milestone in the journey of bilateral relation between the two nations, that is Bangladesh and India. And speaking about the relationship between the two countries, as she said today, this relationship has matured, taking dynamic, comprehensive and strategic shape, and is based on sovereignty, equality, trust and mutual respect. Addressing the meeting, the Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla said, a celebration of Maitri Divas demonstrates the resilience, the durability and the strength of our bonds, and it honors and consecrates the memory of the shared struggle and the continued solidarity between India and Bangladesh. President Ramnath Kovind, who is in Maharashtra, will visit the Air Force Station in Lohegaon in Pune today and will witness a flying display and also interact with air warriors. The flag pin on the occasion of the Armed Forces Flag Day will be presented, and the President will also review the aircraft lineup. The President yesterday visited the Raigarh Fort and paid a tribute to Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Tomorrow, the President will be in Mumbai to present the President's standard to the 22nd Missile Vessel Squadron in Mumbai. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted the Russian President at Hyderabad House in the Indian capital for the 21st annual India-Russia Summit, which is the first in-person meeting between them since they met on the sidelines of the BRICS Summit in 2019 in Brasilia. While this is President Putin's second foreign visit in the last 2 years since the COVID pandemic began, In their opening statements, both the leaders reiterated their commitment to further strengthening ties amidst the fast-changing geopolitical equations. It would be apt to say that President Putin's decision to visit India for the annual summit is an indication of the importance he attaches to the bilateral relationship and his personal rapport with Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
An in-person meeting after November 2019. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted President Vladimir Putin for the 21st India-Russia summit at Hyderabad House. What makes this summit even more significant is the fact that the first ever 2+2 dialogue between India and Russia was held just a few hours before the two leaders met.
आज हमारे विदेश एवं रक्षा मंत्रियों के बीच 2+2 डायलॉग की पहली बैठक हुई है। इससे हमारे व्यवहारिक सहयोग को बढ़ाने का एक नया मैकेनिज्म शुरू हुआ है।
Prime Minister said that the fact that President Putin's India visit was the second one in the last 2 years illustrates Vladimir Putin's closeness and personal commitment towards boosting India-Russia ties. Ties between both nations have only grown stronger over the last 2 years, be it in the field of vaccine research, humanitarian assistance, or in assisting repatriation of citizens during the lockdown. The two nations' close cooperation has been a hallmark of ties. Prime Minister Modi described 2021 as a landmark year for India-Russia ties.
वर्ष 2021 हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंधों के लिए कई मायनों में महत्वपूर्ण है। इस वर्ष 1971 की ट्रीटी ऑफ पीस, फ्रेंडशिप एंड कोऑपरेशन के 5 दशक और हमारी स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप के 2 दशक पूरे हो रहे हैं। अफगानिस्तान और दूसरे क्षेत्रीय विषयों पर भी हम निरंतर संपर्क में रहे हैं।
India-Russia ties have been a constant factor among the variables in the geopolitical and international arena in recent times.
पिछले कई दशकों में वैश्विक स्तर पर कई फंडामेंटल बदलाव आए, कई तरह के जियोपॉलिटिकल समीकरण उभरे, किंतु इन सभी वेरिएबल्स के बीच भारत-रूस मित्रता एक कांस्टेंट रही है। दोनों देशों ने न सिर्फ एक दूसरे के साथ निसंकोच सहयोग किया है, एक दूसरे की सेंसिटिविटीज का भी विशेष ख्याल रखा है। यह सचमुच इंटर स्टेट दोस्ती का एक यूनिक और विश्वस्त मॉडल है।
President Vladimir Putin described India as a time-tested friend. He expressed his concern over the situation in Afghanistan. Building on the foundations laid at the Eastern Economic Forum in 2019, both nations have set a target of $30 billion worth of trade and doubling investment to $50 billion by 2025. Cooperation in co-development and co-production under Make in India have also seen a boost. Cooperation in defense, space and nuclear sectors is on the rise.
We perceive India as a great power, a friendly nation, and a time-tested friend. We are truly cooperating and working on very important and promising matters. That applies to the energy sector and high-tech, including space. And I think that the programs that we will be discussing here today will be implemented fully, including the training of Indian spacemen cosmonauts. We also cooperate greatly in military and technical sphere, like with no other country. We continue to cooperate jointly on global agenda, and as you have said, indeed, our positions are quite similar or coincide. Naturally, we are concerned about everything that has to do with terrorism. I mean, the fight against terrorism, also fighting drug trafficking and organized crime. And with that regard, naturally, we are concerned about the developments of the situation in Afghanistan.
Judging by the outcomes of the 2+2 meet, as well as the opening statements the two leaders made, the import of the first in-person meeting, albeit only for a few hours, between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Vladimir Putin is immense. With Amritpal Singh and Meghna Dev, Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, ahead of the annual summit, India and Russia held their first ever 2+2 dialogue. A record 28 pacts were inked, including one for joint production of over 6 lakh AK-203 assault rifles were inked. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and their counterparts Sergei Shoigu and Sergei Lavrov took part in this dialogue. Discussions were held on emerging challenges and the need for enhanced military and military technical cooperation with Russia.
The first ever 2+2 dialogue between India and Russia after over 2 decades of strategic level partnership. Till now, India has had a 2+2 format of meetings with the US, Japan and Australia, all members of the Quad grouping. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar represented the Indian side, while the Russian side was represented by Sergei Shoigu and Sergei Lavrov.
We are meeting at a critical juncture in the global geopolitical environment, which is in great flux. The COVID-19 pandemic has raised questions about the current model of global affairs, but the long-standing challenges remain even as new ones emerge. Prominent among them are terrorism, violent extremism and radicalization. The situation in Afghanistan has wider repercussions, including for Central Asia. West Asia or the Middle East continues to present hotspots. Maritime security and safety is another domain of shared concern.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said, India-Russia defence cooperation has progressed in an unprecedented manner in recent times. He expressed confidence that Russia will remain a major partner for India amidst the fresh challenges of recent times.
The pandemic, the extraordinary militarization and expansion of armament in our neighborhood and the unprovoked aggression on our northern border since early summer of 2020 have thrown in several challenges. India is confident of overcoming these challenges with its strong political will and inherent capability of its people. We hope that Russia will remain a major partner for India in these challenging circumstances. From Ministry of Defence, we have urged our greater military technical collaboration, advanced research, co-development and co-production of defence equipment leading to self-reliance of India. Separately, we proposed greater engagements in Central Asia and the Indian Ocean region.
At the 2+2 meet, Russian Foreign Affairs Minister Sergei Lavrov said that the new dialogue mechanism will prove to be an efficient platform where several regional, bilateral and international issues will be discussed. He said it will help reinforce the specially privileged strategic partnership between the two nations. Russian Defence Minister Sergei Shoigu said India-Russia cooperation in military technical sector is significant.
Both Russia and India have a similar worldview of a more polycentric, more multipolar, more equitable world order. We advocate similar or identical positions on the most important political and military issues. We speak in favor of international law, reinforcing the collective principle of international affairs. We adhere to the principle of non-interference in the domestic affairs of other countries, and we have great respect for cultural and civilizational diversity of our world. This creates a very good platform for productive work.
सैन्य तकनीकी क्षेत्रों में ये विशेष रूप से महत्वपूर्ण है हमारे देशों के संबंधों के लिए। इस विकसित हो रही दुनिया में आज जो अंतर सरकारी आयोग की बैठक हुई, मेरे समकक्ष और मैं, हमने हमारे बीच विस्तृत चर्चा हुई हमारे सहयोग के बारे में रक्षा के क्षेत्र में, और हम आगे के लिए योजनाएं हमने बनाए। मुझे विश्वास है कि जो दोनों देश के जो एजेंसियां हैं वे योगदान करेंगे ताकि हम क्षेत्रीय विश्वास को बढ़ा सकें और वैश्विक स्तर पर रक्षा को बढ़ा सकें।
In a huge boost for defence ties, India and Russia inked an agreement for joint production of over 6 lakh AK-203 assault rifles at a manufacturing facility in Uttar Pradesh's Amethi, besides firming up another pact on military technical cooperation for 10 years from 2021 to 2031. The rifles will be manufactured for the Indian Armed Forces at a cost of around 5,000 crore rupees. The two sides also inked a pact on amending the agreement on cooperation in the field of manufacturing of the Kalashnikov series of small arms that was originally sealed in February 2019. Another agreement was signed on the protocol of the 20th IRIGC M&M-GC. The agreements were signed at the 20th meeting of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission on Military and Military Technical Cooperation between Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Russian Defence Minister General Sergei Shoigu. Both leaders discussed emerging challenges India is confronted with and the enhanced requirement of closer military and military technical cooperation with Russia. From vaccine cooperation to Afghanistan and the changes in the region post the Taliban takeover, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and his Russian counterpart discussed a wide range of issues.
In all, a record number of 28 agreements or MOUs were concluded during this visit. These agreements were both government to government as well as business to business, including involving our public sector units in both countries. The agreements cover a very wide range of sectors, including trade, energy, culture, intellectual property, accountancy, cyber attacks in the banking sector, manpower, geological exploration, survey, education, etc. India and Russia have also signed a program of cooperation in the field of defense for the next 10 years, 2021 to 2031. The diversity of agreements and MOUs signed today shows the multifaceted nature of our bilateral partnership.
And all this played out in the backdrop of China's transgressions along the LAC, increased focus on open and free trade in the Indo-Pacific region, and the standoff along the Ukraine-Russia border and the Iran nuclear deal talks. With Amritpal Singh and Meghna Dev, Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, now let's take a look at the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. COVID-19 cases have begun to spiral once again globally. The tally of COVID-19 cases has crossed the 26 crore 61 lakh global mark, while so far more than 23 crore 96 lakh people have recovered from the virus so far. Over 52 lakh 70,000 people have lost their lives to the virus so far, and the US continues to remain the worst affected country, with the disease registering more than 4 crore 99 lakh cases and over 8 lakh fatalities. COVID-19 cases have been mushrooming all across the European countries, with the United Kingdom being the hardest hit in this continent. The UK has more than 1 crore 4 lakh cases of COVID-19, followed by France, where the cases have risen above 79 lakh 17,000. Germany too registered a spike in the number of cases, with the total tally standing above 61 lakh 79,000. Italy trails behind it, where over 51 lakh COVID-19 cases have been registered so far. Now, amid the growing fear of Omicron, the World Health Organization Strategic Advisory Group of experts on immunization will meet today to discuss the evidence on the need for booster doses of COVID-19 vaccines and also the recommendations for the same. Currently, the WHO maintains that the evidence remains limited and still inconclusive on any widespread need for booster doses following a primary vaccination series. Now, there is a growing chorus for the need to start vaccinating the vulnerable population, given the new threat of the fifth variant of concern, Omicron, and concerns are growing with regard to waning immunity and risk of severe disease. Italy has tightened curbs on still unvaccinated individuals against COVID-19 coming into effect from today. Under the new restrictions, people who are still not vaccinated will not be allowed to access public places and services. And the country has announced the measures earlier in last month, even before the discovery of the highly contagious Omicron variant. The Italian police have started enforcing the measures from early hours, with anyone caught without the health certificate facing an automatic €400 fine. Italy has registered over 51 lakh 18,000 cases of COVID-19, with a death toll crossing 1 lakh 34,000. Now, as the cases of COVID-19 spiral up across the world, New York has prepared a coercive crackdown on the surge in the cases. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has announced a vaccine mandate for private sector employees that will come into effect from December 27th. Calling the new measures preemptive strike, the mayor announced that the rules for dining and entertainment would apply to children aged 5 to 11.
We now are going to deepen that effort by requiring all employees and patrons to have, from 12 years old and up, 2 doses. And that will take effect on December 27th. Because the idea is everyone by that point who has gotten their first dose, if you've gotten your first dose by now, you're going to be able to get your second dose by then. We got to up the ante here. We want to also encourage folks to get that second dose. Vast majority of New Yorkers do, and that's good news. But we've got to encourage people even more. Get that second dose, because that's what gives you so much more protection. So 2 doses for all the key to NYC businesses starting December 27th, employees and customers.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has criticized the rich countries for fueling vaccine appetite. Speaking at International Forum on Peace and Security, he said that the Western countries are concerned for their citizens only and not about the world.
The rich countries, they, through their refusal to accede to this proposal to waive the TRIPS requirement, are demonstrating that they are only interested in advancing the interests of their citizens, not the citizens of the whole world. And this is the type of vaccine apartheid that we say must come to an end.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa doubled down on criticism of travel bans imposed in response to the Omicron COVID-19 variant. He lambasted Western countries, calling them unscientific.
African scientists discovered, as President Macky Sall was saying, Omicron, the new variant. They immediately took on the responsibility of informing the world, the entire world, that a new variant has come through. And what is the result? The northern countries impose a ban to punish the excellence that comes from Africa. They basically say, we will not allow you to travel around. But lo and behold, Omicron is spreading all over the world, including in their own countries. And now you ask yourself, where is science? They've always said to us, base your decisions on science, but when the moment comes for them to be more scientific, they are not.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke to Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday ahead of President Joe Biden's call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Blinken reiterated Washington's unwavering support for Ukraine's sovereignty in the face of Russian aggression. The U.S. President will hold talks with his Russian counterpart today, during which he is expected to warn Russia of severe economic consequences should Russia go ahead with an invasion of Ukraine.
We believe there is an opportunity, a window before us to resolve this diplomatically, chiefly through full implementation of the Minsk agreements. That is our priority. That is where we wish to invest our efforts. At the same time, we've been clear that if Moscow shows no interest in investing in a diplomatic off-ramp, that the United States and our partners, and we heard this loud and clear from our NATO allies in Riga last week, that we would be prepared to implement measures that we have not implemented in the past. Specifically, should Russia follow this path of confrontation and military action, we have made clear to Moscow that we will respond resolutely, including with a range of what we have called high-impact economic measures that we've refrained from using in the past.
State Department spokesman Ned Price told reporters that the United States remains committed to NATO's open door policy and that the alliance should remain ready to aspirants when they're ready. Ukraine, a former Soviet republic, now aspires to join the European Union and the NATO.
NATO has an open door, and we are committed to the open door policy that was put forward in Bucharest, that NATO should remain an option to aspirants when they are ready and able to meet the commitments that are spelled out, as well as the obligations of membership that are spelled out, meaning specifically that they are able and willing to contribute to security in the Euro-Atlantic area. We've reaffirmed this on a number of occasions. The United States has during this administration and in previous administrations, and we can confirm that 3 of the hostages were released. This is something that we continue to treat with the utmost priority ever since these individuals were taken captive.
This is today. You're talking this most recent.
That's correct. That's correct. And so, of course, a number of U.S. citizens remain hostage in Haiti. We're continuing to work at the highest levels with the Haitian government, continuing to work as an interagency and together with our Canadian partners to do everything we can to see to it that the remaining hostages are released as soon as possible.
US President Joe Biden and Russia's Vladimir Putin will speak via video call today amid mounting tensions over Ukraine. Now, during this conversation, the US President will underscore US concerns with Russian military activities on the border with Ukraine and reaffirm the United States support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine during his call with the Russian president. The US and its European allies have discussed imposing sanctions on Russia if it takes aggressive action. Ukraine says Russia has deployed armored vehicles, electronic warfare systems and troops along their shared border. Russia has denied it and has accused Ukraine of executing its own troop buildup. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said Ukraine's armed forces were capable of fighting off any attack from Russia as the country marked its National Army Day on Monday. Zelensky visited the Donetsk region where Ukraine's army has fought Russian-backed forces in a simmering conflict. Ukraine has accused Russia of massing tens of thousands of troops near its border in preparation for a possible large-scale military offensive, raising the prospect of open war between the two neighbors. Russia has dismissed the talk of a new assault on Ukraine as a false rumor and inflammatory, but told the West not to cross its red lines and to halt the eastward expansion of the NATO alliance. 4-year sentences of detained Myanmar President Win Myint and State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi were respectively reduced to 2 years after a partial pardon by the head of the military-appointed government. Myanmar State Television reported that both the leaders will continue being held at the current undisclosed locations. Suu Kyi and President Myint were sentenced to 4 years in prison on Monday morning on charges of incitement and breaking COVID-19 rules. Now, this was the first verdict against the Nobel Peace Prize winner since the military seized power in February. Suu Kyi faces 11 charges in total and denies them all. Suu Kyi is next due in court on 14th of December, and this is when she will face charges of possessing illegal walkie-talkies. United Nations Human Rights Chief Michelle Bachelet condemned the sham trial and called for her immediate release. UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights spokeswoman Ravina Shamdasani said the conviction of Suu Kyi will only embolden the resistance against the illegitimate rule of the military.
The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights deeply deplores the conviction and sentencing of Aung San Suu Kyi on these offences. I mean, the trial was a sham trial by a military-controlled court without due regard for the fair trial obligations of Myanmar. This kind of a sentence for Aung San Suu Kyi and the continued detention of political opponents, we believe it will only embolden the resistance against the illegitimate rule of the military.
The US has also condemned the trial and said Myanmar's unjust conviction of Aung San Suu Kyi is a further affront to democracy.
The Burmese military regime's unjust conviction of Aung San Suu Kyi and the repression of other democratically elected officials are yet further affronts to democracy and justice in Burma. The regime's continued disregard for the rule of law and its widespread use of violence against the Burmese people underscore the urgency of restoring Burma's path to democracy. We urge the regime to release Aung San Suu Kyi and all those unjustly detained, including other democratically elected officials.
Now, the people too took to the streets of Yangon on Monday after Myanmar's deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi was sentenced to jail for inciting dissent against the military and breaching the anti-COVID rules. Protesters were chanting slogans and waving banners, and one demonstrator was seen holding a flaming torch as the group marched down the street in protest of the verdict. Nobel Prizes in Sciences have been given out to David Macmillan in chemistry, Syukuro Manabe in physics and Joshua Angrist in economics at the National Academy of Sciences in Washington, D.C. on Monday. The ceremony was scheduled to be held in Sweden but was cancelled due to COVID-19 pandemic. Sweden's ambassador to the United States, Karin Olofsdotter, handed out the prestigious awards to winners based on the East Coast of the United States in physics, chemistry and economics. Now, each of these winners shared in the 10 million Swedish crown prize in their respective categories. The prestigious prizes for achievements in science, literature and peace were created and funded in the will of Swedish dynamite inventor and wealthy businessman Alfred Nobel. Now in sports, India will host the Denmark for the next Davis Cup Tennis Championships World Group 1 contest, which is scheduled for March 4th and 5th next year. This would be India's first home Davis Cup tie since February 2019, when it hosted Italy and lost 1-3 in Kolkata. Even though Denmark has a singles player in Holger Rune, who is higher ranked than all the Indian players, it can still be considered a favourable draw for the hosts. It will be the first tie between the two nations since September 1984, when India won 3-2 at Aarhus. The two teams have not clashed much, as the only other time they played was in 1927, and this is when Denmark whitewashed India 5-0 in the quarter-final in Copenhagen. Cricket South Africa on Monday released the updated schedule of the Indian men's cricket team's upcoming tour of South Africa. The series, which was initially supposed to start from December 17, will now begin from December 26th. The first test will be played at the Supersport Park in Centurion from December 26th until December 30th. The Wanderers Stadium in Johannesburg will host the second test, which is going to be from January 3rd until 7th of 2022, while the third match of the series will be played in Newlands in Cape Town from January 11th until 15th. India will also play the 3 ODIs, but the 4-match T20 International Series will be rescheduled for later, as announced by BCCI earlier. ODIs will be played on January 19th, the 21st and the 23rd. Winning the 2-match test series against New Zealand 1-0, Virat Kohli and his men climbed to the top spot in the latest ICC Test Championships rankings. India now has 124 rating points, while New Zealand lost 3 points and remains at 121 points. The victory in Mumbai also meant that India registered their 14th consecutive series win at home. Kohli became the first player with 50 international wins in each format of the game. Moving on in badminton, the Indian badminton contingent finished the campaign on Monday at the 2021 Asia Youth Para Games with 16 medals. For India, Tokyo Paralympian Palak Kohli, Sanjana Kumari and Hardik Makkar clinched 3 medals each, and the para badminton contingent won 4 gold medals, 7 silver and 5 bronze in total in Manama. Now the gold medalist shuttlers include Nitya Sri, Sanjana Kumari, Palak Kohli, Nehal Gupta and Abhijit Sakhuja. Over 700 para athletes from 30 countries competed across 9 sports in the games. And it's now time to say goodbye, because that's all we have for you in this bulletin of news on the hour. But before we go, we take you to Japan, where Christmas festivities are on its peak, and Tokyo welcomed the Christmas season with sparkling light display. Take a look at these glittering visuals. News continues on DD India. Do keep watching. Namaskar.